The Michael Hatfield RE/MAX team presents Real Estate and More.
Bay Area real estate is different than in all of America. And why? What's up with home buyers? What's on sellers' minds? How is the market? And much, much more.
Now, here's your host, Michael Hatfield.
Well, welcome to the Real Estate and More show. We've got an exciting episode lined up for you today. Our returning guest is someone who's been a fixture, and he always gives me trouble about that, fixture in the Bay Area for more than 40 years. He knows this region's housing market pretty well, but with skyrocketing home prices, wildfire risks, and some questionable decisions from local governments, even he has tough questions about the future of real estate here in the Bay Area. His big one, is this really the best time to buy, or is it the best time to sell, or both? Well, today he's here to continue with these questions head on. Let's dive in. Welcome to the show, Mr. Charles.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And let's start right out. This would affect buyers and sellers. The mortgage rates, they seem to be hanging around 7%, give or take. And that can affect the buyer, certainly, and the seller. But it's not that big a deal. But if you're buying your first house and you're not coming out of something with a lot of equity that you can put down on the house, the first thing you have to do is, for the mortgage, maybe is to write a check for 20%.
Yeah, it gets pretty expensive.
It does.
Well, there's two things that are involved there. It's the 7% rate means something in affordability, affording the loan and getting approved for the loan. And then every month you're looking at a payment that's more. Just as an example, on a $500,000 30-year loan at 6%, your payments would be $2,974 per month. That's principal and interest. And then on a 30-year loan at 7%, 1% higher, the payments will go to $3,293. So roughly, what's that, $300 or more per month, the cost of your loan servicing would go up.
Well, that's assuming you only want $500,000.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of the money come from if you're buying an average house in the Bay Area? You're not going to buy one for $500,000, but that's assuming you have maybe some money to put down on it because you're coming out of another house or somewhere else where you don't have a $1.5 or $2 million loan. Yeah. That kind of money at 7%. It gets pretty staggering.
Yeah. Well, the current mortgage rate, they've been pretty stagnant for about the last year or year and a half.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it seems like I get the paper in the morning, and you look up there, and there's the mortgage. And, is it going to be 7? It's going to be 7.25. It's 6 3/4 for a little bit. No, 7.1. There it is. So it seems to be somewhere around there all the time.
And by the way, there are some areas in the Bay Area that you can buy a home for $600,000 and get a decent home. They may not have the top schools in that area. It might be a little farther out. But there are some areas. Give us a call. We're the Michael Hatfield RE/MAX team. Love to help you. 925-322-7775. Now, back to what we were talking about here. The current 30-year fixed rates of 7%, they've been with us for oh my gosh, I guess it's almost a year and a half. And they're signaling that they're going to stay that way unless there's something changes. I think there's going to be a change. I think we're going to see mortgage rates go lower. I think we're going to have even more of a vibrant market, maybe inducing some sellers to come out of the woodwork and to sell their homes. What say you?
Well, that's very true. The mortgage rates, especially around here, are pretty darn important. So there's a pretty big difference between 5 and 7 or 4 and 7 in the old days. And of course, the answer to this is, Michael, I know where you can go and you can get a nice house for around $200,000.
Yeah,
Arkansas.
Arkansas, Tennessee, Texas.
The lowest price houses. And the average house that's in Arkansas is right around $200,000. How would you like that?
Well, that would be pretty nice. I mean, we could have a little bit of time to go find a horse, find a little airplane, and play with that instead of working to support our houses, as that like we've been doing here for a lot of years.
Yeah, there's only one problem with that, though. with no badness for Arkansas, but you're living in Arkansas.
Yeah, it has it has snakes out there, by the
You
way.
got
Lots of
something
them
out there, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Charlie? I'm really concerned about one thing right lately, and it seems to be mitigating a little bit, but I'm concerned about the home insurance after we've had such horrific fires down in the Los Angeles area. The way it works now is that the California Fair Plan has been working to insure homes. So when I represent a buyer, we often go to several different brokers that can actually insure the home or find a way to insure them. And that's a big portion of the home buy process right now is getting that home insurance.
Well, explain the California Fair Plan a little bit. I'm not that familiar with it, but what does that mean? Just a way to get insurance for your home?
Well, yeah, if a home is in a high fire or a fire area, legacy home insurers they're not wanting to issue a policy, then the California Fair Plan joins with the legacy carrier and then offers the homeowner or the new homeowner a policy, but it's more expensive. It definitely is more expensive if the California Fair Plan is involved. In fact, it's always a function of getting all your ducks in order. Your experienced realtor will help you represent you when you're represented by an experienced realtor in finding and getting a good insurance policy prior to moving in.
So if you get a letter from your insurance company that says, "Sorry, you're in a too bad of a fire area,"
it does happen.
We're going to cancel your insurance. And I know I have some friends that had that happen. So then is it California Fair Plan a plan of attack to get some insurance? You can't have just no insurance.
Yeah. Well, my experience has been that a lot of people will go to the same insurer that they've been with for a lot of years, and that's nice, and that is really great. But sometimes that insurer may represent the one insurance company, and so you're kind of out of luck with those type of individuals. You need someone that can access more than one insurance company and thus combine it with the California Fair Plan in order to achieve a viable policy.
Well, that's certainly something that everybody has to look into nowadays. And then you run into the situation where, let's say you had a lot of damage in your house, you had to move out, and then how long is it going to take to fix it back up? I mean, those poor people in Southern California, they've got to wait and wait and wait because there's just too many houses doing the same thing. Yeah. It's going to be several years before they are able to figure that out.
Yeah, it'll take a little while, but then I have encouragement because of the current administration was down there and said, "Listen, these people can't wait. They can put on their masks and they can clean out a lot of the remaining, and they can get started in this permitting process and in an attempt to move it along." And everybody would like to see that, but at the same time, they have to have some type of financial sustenance to go and to rebuild that house, and that is definitely an issue since that fire, as well as the other fires we've had in this state.
Yeah.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
There's a shortage of Bay Area homes for sale, and you've been watching home prices rise year after year. And now your home is worth a great deal more, and you're thinking, time for something new. Why not sell before interest rates and market conditions change everything? You'd like experts who can help you get the best deal possible, negotiate on your behalf, and work hard to ensure a smooth transition. List your home with us. If you're buying or selling a home, call us now.
Working with Michael and Nancy, I was a first-time home buyer and I was very nervous about the process. I didn't really know what to expect. Michael and Nancy were able to take that fear away from me and answered all of my questions. They were right by my side the entire time, and they really helped me find the perfect home for me, and I'm so thankful.
For excellence in real estate, call the Michael Hatfield RE/MAX team at 925-322-7775 or go to michaelhatfieldhomes.com.
Now, back to our show.
And down in Southern California, that was not the poor side of town either.
No.
Those were pretty expensive homes almost everywhere where the fire was, and I feel real sorry for those folks.
Oh, everyone does. As a kind of an aside, Samaritan's Purse is a charitable organization, as well as Convoy of Hope. Both of those take small administrative fees if you donate to them, and they have been boots on the ground there as well as back in North Carolina, which was, I would say, forgotten by the past administration. And now they have got things going and not having to live in tents with the snow on the ground down there in North Carolina. And I think that there's some good activity to support and donate to Samaritan's Purse as well as to Convoy of Hope.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to donate to, and I know we donated to something with regard to the animals. And to help out with that. That was not fun.
No, it's not. And our hearts go out to the people that have lost their homes anywhere. It's just awful. So anyway, what do you say about contingencies, like a seller contingency or a buyer contingency? What do you think about contingencies, Mr. Charles?
Well, I remember, buyer contingencies. Somebody may say, well, you've got to replace your bathroom, your tub. I don't want to be stepping over the tub into the shower. So get rid of the tub, and I want a walk-in shower, full-size walk-in shower. I mean, that would be a contingency. I remember stuff like that. But what about seller contingencies? I never heard of that until recently.
Yeah, well, they've been around. Essentially, what it means is the seller says, well, I'll sell my house, but I don't have any place to go as of yet. So I need to have a place to go. And if you'll support me with hanging around for a little bit longer until I can find a place to move to, that's essentially what a seller contingency is. We're seeing a few of those today.
Well, I would imagine that'd be something you could help with too.
Oh, yeah.
To figure that out. You're caught in the middle there. You want to sell the house, but the seller has I'm sorry, I can't sell it until I buy another house. Well, that's a factor. You're going to have to help with that.
That makes a lot of sense. It's part of the contract. The contract now is 16, 17 pages of agreement. It's called the residential purchase agreement. And with that, it also has the associated addendums and disclosures and all of that. By the time you get done, you need a hand truck almost to carry the documentation from A to B. But just one going back just a second, you were talking about the buyer contingencies. And before that, we were talking about the fire areas and so forth. As part of our contract, documents are now including the ability to have the buyer to get insurance. And that is included in the investigations contingency of the buyer's contingencies in the contract. Of course, if you're not a real estate, but if you're an insurance broker and you already have that, you won't need that contingency because you already have an insurance company stepping up and taking care of it. But it's there now as part of the contingencies for buyers.
Yeah, and I guess, when we bought our house, I don't remember anything like that kicking around, that you have to have insurance first and so forth. That just wasn't in the works. You just did that, and it wasn't a problem. But now that's definitely a problem.
Yeah. Well, the way that the contract works is the contract, the residential purchase agreement, is an as-is contract, and then what happens is the contract also has these contingencies. The primary contingency is investigations, where the buyer has time or no time to go in and take a look at the property and the associated HOA documents, take a look at inspections or order his own or her own, now get insurance. And then that's the investigations contingency. The other one is like an appraisal. It's important to have the appraisal come in at the contract price or nearby to make sure that you're not overpaying for the property in the lender's eyes. And then the other one is the loan contingency. That is a very important. If you don't have a loan, you can't buy the house. Thus, you should not have to lose your earnest money deposit, which you make right at the beginning once you go into contract.
Earnest money deposits. Yeah,
Yes,
I don't
sir.
remember anything like that either. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that you as a as a crack real estate agent, you have to know these things because the buyers may not know it at all.
Yeah.
So, or the sellers. I mean, you're gonna have to sit down with them in the beginning and say, okay, here's the things that could happen, and I can help you with this. You're telling them that. So,
well, you can tell I don't like to talk, but between Nancy and I, that's the first thing we do is we sit down with buyers and we talk about the contract and what it means and what it means to them. And when they're ready to make an offer on a home, we tell them about how the system really works, not how they may believe it works from the internet. Because a lot of times what you read on the internet is so totally in opposition to the way it really is when you put your boots on the ground.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
The Real Estate Minute with RE/MAX expert Michael Hatfield. Bay Area housing markets are always changing. What should we think of that, Michael?
You know, Mark Twain said, "I seldom saw an opportunity until it ceased to be one." We live in the greatest housing market in the nation, but careful thought should be given each time one buys or sells a home. A good agent can help you grasp a great opportunity.
Tell us about discount agents, Michael.
Discount agents can list your home, but without telling my secrets, they're unlikely to do all we do for clients. It's an unnecessary risk to save a few thousand by hiring a junior agent and lose tens of thousands through a poorly done transaction. You don't know what you don't know. It's wise to hire someone who does.
If you or someone you know is interested in buying or selling a home, call the Michael Hatfield RE/MAX team at 925-322-7775 or go to michaelhatfieldhomes.com. Get those what ifs answered.
Now, back to our show.
But we do a lot of explaining, a lot of education to our valued clients. And our idea, if we're representing buyers, is to have them pay the least amount of money for a property that they desire as possible. If we represent on the other side, the sellers, we look to minimize the amount, or not minimize, maximize, I can't talk here, maximize the amount of the proceeds from the sale into their own bank accounts once they're done, paid off their loans.
there's a lot to keep track of, and better you than me, and stuff like that. So
I'm sure you're just 40 years in the Bay Area is not going to hurt you too bad, there, Charlie. I'm sure you're right on top of it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And then something else that I didn't, I've been to a couple open houses recently, and you walk in there, and all of a sudden, you're asked questions about kind of what are you doing here, and who's representing you, and a lot of people just aren't used to that. You walk into a house and you're looking around an open house, and you say, well, I don't know, I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah.
So what's the buyer representation stuff, or the seller representation, or I guess the buyer has to be represented by somebody coming into an open house. How's that work?
Well, you don't really have to be represented by somebody, but if you are not, then the agent hosting the open house could consider...
Opens the door and throws you out.
Not really. Actually says they would like to represent you as well. See, that's an important division right there, to know who represents who. In the state of California, we have what they call agency disclosure, which says, okay, my buyers are represented by the Michael Hatfield RE/MAX team. And, when they go somewhere to look at an open house, if we're not with them, they say we're already represented. Therefore, the host of the open house knows not to pressure them too hard to become clients of theirs. And also, this was brought around by the Sitzer-Burnett lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors. Basically, it made several different changes in documentation to the process. And example, now in California, if you are going to go look at 2-3 houses with a buyer agent, you are required by state law, get this, state law, to sign a buyer representation agreement. Now, this agreement can say, okay, well, I don't have the money to pay the buyer's broker and agent for representation. I'm asking you to, any offer that we make, ask the seller to pay it. And this happens quite frequently. So it's more documentation in the state of California for us to deal with. And if you are a serious home buyer, it's just something for you to know. And Nancy and I go over any of this stuff with a potential client.
Yeah, and definitely those are things that you have to know about. And, a buyer or seller, that's going to be new stuff to them if they haven't really done this in a long time.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember stuff like that a while ago either, but it's a different world out there now.
Oh, it is. If I were interested even remotely in buying a home, I would take somebody as an experienced agent, and I would find an experienced agent that I felt that I could, trust. And then I would make them my agent and let them, keep all of this pressure off of my back as a potential home buyer. There's enough to worry about if you're a home buyer anyway. You want somebody that, I wouldn't say hold your hand, but somebody that knows the ropes inside and out and that has your best interest at heart.
Who will we have on the show this week? A real estate specialist, an airline captain, a heart surgeon, a politician, or a canine expert? I am Michael Hatfield, the host of the Real Estate and More Show. Tune in to Real Estate and More on KSFO 810 AM, Saturday mornings at 7, evenings at 5, or Sunday at 8 a.m. Everyone has their own story to tell. Don't miss the Real Estate and More Show. Start your weekend off right.
Yeah, and another thing, if you're a home seller, the one thing that you're going to be thinking to yourself is, geez, what do I have to do with my house here to make it more saleable? So do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? And then you, as a experienced agent, are definitely going to have some ideas on that, right, Michael?
Oh, absolutely. Now, in life, there's a lot that's subjective. It's, you might think it one way, another person might think it another way, and a lot of those might be a real gray area. Well, if you go one direction, it might be profitable. You go the other way, it might be unprofitable. When you get your experienced agent and you're interested in listing your home, your experienced agent does a 3-minute, 4-minute walkthrough. It doesn't take long, and says, okay, well, it needs new carpets. It needs paint in order to best represent the house. The kitchen is outdated. The cabinet doors are falling off, so we got to do something about that. You want to present your home in the best possible light, and therefore, if you have an experienced realtor, she's got the I would say contacts to help you do that, because you don't want to go and put $1 million into your house to think that you're going to get $1 million plus its current value, because there are things in the market that will not return dollar for dollar. There's some items in the market that will return heavily as a return on investment preparing your home. And by the way, we have a facility for people that need, $50,000 or so. We have a facility with RE/MAX that will help them, and then you pay it back at the time that the home sells. Prepare your home for the market, Charlie.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, otherwise, if your house needs, I don't know, $50,000 or $100,000 worth of whatever, that's another expense that you have. So if RE/MAX has a way to help with that, and then just get paid back after the house is bought, well, that's a really good idea.
So the question is that we started on here, and I kind of rambled around a little bit, is how do you ensure that you'll get the money that you invest in your home to sell it? How do you know how you're going to get it back or not? It's subjective. You might think that you need to do the floors. Your realtor looks at them and says, no, maybe we'll just refinish these to keep the dollars in your pocket and more proceeds when you sell. And then you get down to that subjective thing again that is so important when you have an experienced realtor.
And then what about the staging and so forth? Is that a good idea for everybody to bring in new furniture and do this and do that to make it look good when people walk through it?
Well, roughly 90% of the time or more, depending on your area, depending on your home, depending on the condition of your home, staging has returned the dollars that have been expended to do that in the proceeds. So yes, I would say 90% of the time or greater, it is actually worth it.
Well, I would think so. You're just looking, if you're a seller, you're looking to get the top dollar for your house.
Yeah.
And if you're a buyer, you don't want to pay any more than you have to.
Right.
But you want to, if you're a seller, you want your house to look good. So if you have to move all the furniture out and move new furniture in, and that helps a lot. Well, I think that's something you should do.
Yeah. And to answer your question that we started out with, is this a good time to buy? Or was maybe my question, a good time to buy or sell? Yes, it is a good time to buy or sell. Interest rates right now are holding kind of solid, which, I've always felt for buyers, buy the home of your dreams and then date the rate. When the rate comes down, refinance it. I mean, in the Bay Area, we're in a position to where you get money while you sleep if you own the appropriate home. As a seller, is it a good time to sell? I think it is. I think that with a limited amount of inventory, and if your home is a peach and it looks really pretty after preparation for the market, I think that it's a great time to sell as well.
It's interesting. I look at the prices and think of what we did years ago, and the way it comes out. I figured it out one time that for the same price of things, we could almost buy, back then, you could almost buy the entire neighborhood. but now that doesn't happen very often. But people are looking to buy a house, they can find something and you can help them. That's the main idea.
Interestingly, Charlie, we're going to have a former congressman on the show next. I'm going to ask him, how come it's so everything is inflated so much? So he'll give us some ideas on that. Really a nice man.
That ought to be an interesting question.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mr. Charlie Charles, any great thoughts that you would like to leave our audience with today, sir?
Well, you just have to, think about yourself. How much money do you have? How much money are you willing to spend? And then start looking around at, things, and you may change your mind a little bit here and there. And, if you're willing to wait a little bit and not be in a big hurry, you can find something somewhere, at least in the Bay Area, that you like.
Absolutely.
And it should work.
All good to know. And thank you for your questions, and thank you for being on the show again, Mr. Charles. You're an amazing kind of guy.
Anytime, Michael.
Yeah, well, buying or selling a home is one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. And it can either be a challenging experience or one that's filled with excitement and joy. Buyers often face the difficulties of personalizing their new space, managing payments, and keeping up with maintenance. Sellers, on the other hand, work hard to make their home appealing to potential buyers in order to maximize their return. For personalized professional service with the big decision of buying or selling, give us a call at the Michael Hatfield RE/MAX team at 925-322-7775. Let's discuss your goals. We'll be right back with our next special guest. Stay tuned. Please remember to go to our new YouTube handle, My Real Talk Show. That's My Real Talk Show at youtube.com, and touch that subscribe button. You can also find past aired shows at our handle, My Real Talk Show, on youtube.com.